So, you guys have probably heard about the horrifying story of Iryna Zarutska. No thanks to the mainstream media. It is only people on the right that seem to care about the story, and it's the only reason that this poor young girl is getting any attention at all. And it obviously needs to be heard by more people, and we need to actually analyze why this stuff keeps happening. So today, I'm actually bringing in a friend of mine to discuss what has gone on with this story. Her name is CLER Patriot, and I follow a lot of her content. We have a lot of the same insights and takes. Not that you have to think exactly like me when you join my channel. I do believe in actual diversity. You know, you're allowed to have your own opinion. But I wanted to get her reaction, my reaction. We're going to talk about what happened and how this played out. So, CLER Patriot, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm
Of,
excited to go over and react to some of these videos. I think this is a super important issue that needs more media coverage.
of course. And today we are the media. So, go us. So, I'm going to play the video for anybody that hasn't seen it. Before we get too much further, I forgot to say, please hit the like button on this video and subscribe to my channel if you have not already. I'm also going to leave CLER Patriot's social links in the description box below. Please go follow her on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all the things. She's got some great insights on all of these issues that we all react to. So I am going to play this video. I'm going to speed it up a little bit. I do want to warn you, it is a little bit distressing to watch if you are somebody who needs a trigger warning. I feel like I don't, but not everybody is, has a dark soul like I do. But they do stop it just before the actual incident takes place. So they don't show that. But it's also interesting to watch this individual, this black man behind her, Decarlos Brown, and how he exits the train after committing this heinous crime. And what stood out to me is also the lack of reaction from the people around him. So we're going to play a little bit. Again, I apologize if this is something that's too triggering. Feel free to skip forward a minute or so, and then we'll discuss it after. So this is how this all played out.
Train is about to move.
All right. And I think that's most of it. How did you first hear about this story? Because I know I'm shocked. I didn't hear about it from the mainstream media.
I heard about it on X, and it was that video that I saw first. And at first I was like, what is this even about? Because it doesn't have a lot of context. But then as the story started to evolve, more information started to come out, and it just got more and more horrifying the more you learned about it. But yeah, not the mainstream media.
No. And I know that we're all deeply surprised by that. And it's interesting because I think when I first heard about this story, I didn't realize that it happened almost 3 weeks ago. This is something that happened on August 22nd, and we're now, September 9th at this point, and it's only gotten coverage over the last couple of days. Any theories as to why that might be?
Because it doesn't fit their agenda. It doesn't look good for the narratives they're trying to push coming from the Democratic Party. So I feel like with the media always leaning that way, that they don't want this sort of thing to get out.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing, and sorry, I didn't mean to push you off the screen. I just wanted to look at this article real quick because we're talking about this individual, and it's not just the heinous crime that he committed. It's the fact that this man, Decarlos Brown, has been arrested 14 times before. He has a long history of run-ins with the law. He is known to law enforcement. And for some reason, he is still allowed to be out there. In this article, it says the deranged homeless man charged with butchering a 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee on a Charlotte train was free on cashless bail after a magistrate released him with just a written promise to show up for court, despite a nearly 2-decade history of violence and mental illness. Decarlos Brown Jr., 34, was arrested at least 14 times in North Carolina for crimes ranging from assault and firearms possession to felony robbery and larceny dating back to 2007. His own mother told local TV station WSOC that her son was schizophrenic and should never have been allowed to roam the streets. So even his mom is saying, my son is not okay. And I feel like we've got these people especially in Democrat states, that like to point to crime whenever there's a firearm involved and small children, but not all these other situations. And they're like, what can we do about this? I'm like, how about we start by recognizing when somebody is very clearly mentally ill and involuntarily committing them because they're not able to make these choices with a clear head, and getting them the help they need instead of just allowing them back onto the street. I don't know. Is that a crazy idea? Is that racist?
No, it's not. And my father was a German man. He was of German descent. So even just a white man who struggled with mental health issues for years. We lived in a blue state, Illinois. We could not get him to be involuntarily held at any given time unless he said he was going to harm himself or someone else. But even when they're all whacked out, they know better than to say that. So I don't think it's a racial issue. I think it's a mental health issue. And I think in these blue states, they're given too many rights that they shouldn't have because of situations like this.
Right. And I mean, we'll get into this a little bit later, but it comes down to this conversation of what empathy is, because they keep telling us that we're not empathetic because we want these people to actually go get help. And sometimes we recognize, the mental capacity to make the choice to get help isn't there. So sometimes an involuntary hold or, being committed or whatever that looks like, that's necessary because the choices that they're making are a danger to themselves and to others. So nobody has freedom in that situation. They're not free from their own mental, situation, and everybody around them isn't free because they're taking those situations out on other people.
Yeah, and
Right.
clearly his mother knew. So it's a situation kind of like my family. We knew, but there's nothing you can do about it. So
Mhm.
that needs to change completely.
Right. And I couldn't help but notice the parallel. I mean, we had, I don't know, in the Minneapolis situation, because people are obviously drawing some comparisons here, we had a mom as well with a very mentally ill son. And in that situation, they do have red flag laws in Minnesota saying, hey, if your child is mentally ill, you need to report it, especially if they have possession of a weapon like a firearm, and you need to let law enforcement know. So I'm wondering why, it's like we're trying to do things that we can to address the mental health situation and make sure that these people don't have access to things that they're going to harm other people. But when we're reporting it and making sure the law enforcement is aware of it, and we're putting laws in place to hopefully address that issue, it seems like these Democrat mayors, judges, attorney generals aren't interested in meeting us at the point where we're trying to do our job.
I agree.
Does
Yeah.
that make sense? So, I think that this is blatantly demonstrated in the response from V. Lyles. I seem to have lost it here. I know part of it was someone posted here that and I don't ever want to post things that aren't completely verified, but this is
Yeah.
a post that someone made where she was expressing her thoughts and prayers to the young woman's family and friends. So I was trying to find an article. I've heard a few people read this, but I don't know for sure 100%, just as a cover my butt that this is 100% verified. It says
Yeah,
the
I
Democrat.
get it.
Yeah, I'm like, I've heard a few people reference this on their own podcast, so it probably has some legitimacy, but just in case. It says the Democrat mayor of Charlotte, V. Lyles, released a statement below about Ukrainian refugee Iryna Zarutska being stabbed to death by a career criminal who was let out on bond by a Democrat judge. She takes no responsibility for the lawlessness she has enabled, which directly led to the situation and doesn't mention the victim's name nor the criminal record of the killer. She says, first and foremost, my thoughts and prayers go out to the young women's family and friends. I shouldn't be laughing, but
I am too. It's okay.
it's not a, and I want to clarify, I'm not laughing at the situation. It's the fact that if she actually said this, I mean, the lack of self-awareness when we just got done being criticized for our thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, I'm laughing because it's like laugh so you don't cry situation.
Exactly. You've got to do one or the other. And sometimes it's just a little bit, I've got to laugh. And she says this is a tragic situation that sheds light on problems with society safety nets related to mental health care and the systems that should be in place. As we come to understand what happened and why, we must look at the entire situation. While I do not know the specifics of the man's medical record, what I've come to understand is that he has long struggled with mental health and appears to have suffered a crisis. It says these tragic incidents like these should force us to look at what we are doing across our community to address root causes. We will never arrest our way out of issues such as homelessness and mental health. I'm committing to doing the hard work with Mecklenburg County community leaders, healthcare service providers, and the private sector to ensure that Charlotte continues to be one of the best cities in the world with the highest quality of life for everybody. Really? We can't arrest our way out of these situations?
Okay, but if you had arrested before the situation, then you wouldn't have to come back and make this statement. If you had gotten the man help or forced him into facilities, you wouldn't be having to make this statement. So what do you mean you're not going to arrest your way out of the situation? At this point, what else do you do?
Right. Right. I mean, something tells me that if he had been behind bars where even his mom is saying that's where he belongs, he does not belong out in public, something tells me that Iryna Zarutska would still be alive today. So arresting him seems to be that would have solved the problem.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that makes us radicals and we're racist and all.
I mean, they're going to say we're that no matter what.
Yeah, at this point, it doesn't mean anything. But somebody that was really pissed off about this, about, us having the nerve to address this is Brian, Mr. Potato Head Stelter. He has got to stop with the spray tanning because he already looks like a potato. So this isn't helping his cause. But he was really upset that right-wing influencers, I don't know, are we right-wing influencers? Are talking about
content creators.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know if I'm influencing anybody. I hope so, maybe for the positive, but whatever. He's really upset that we're talking about this, and he pointed to people like Charlie Kirk and Trump, and he's basically saying the only reason that we're bringing attention to this is because we're racist.
What?
Right? I'm shocked. So let's see what Brian, Mr. Potato Head Stelter had to say. I'll speed him up a little bit because I can only deal with so much of this individual, but here we go.
Recent release of that gruesome video. Second, the energy from pro-Trump activists. They picked up on this video from local news and ran with it. It's a little bit like the times when civil rights groups have raised attention about police-involved shootings. In this case, it is Trump-aligned influencers who are posting up a storm about this case on social media. Really, over the weekend, Elon Musk, Charlie Kirk, other Trump-aligned figures succeeded in making this senseless death a symbol of big city crime. We heard President Trump asked about it yesterday when he was heading home from New York City. He didn't seem to know much about it. He said he would get briefed, and then today, Trump did know all about it. That's exactly what has happened here. This story has trickled up from local news to social media and now to the president's attention. And it's being used, as you said, Brianna, as a political symbol, with MAGA media calling for more forceful punishments and more incarceration. I have to say, some of the replies to Musk, some of the comments around the story are baldly racist, stoking fear of African Americans because this man attacked a white woman. The open racism on sites like X today, it's eye-popping. But there are...
Yeah.
The audacity. So he's saying if it's an important issue to us little influencers, content creators, and then we push it up to Trump, it's not something important enough for Trump to look at. If the media starts it, then it's important. Like, what are you talking about?
Right. And I always think it's funny because there's always projection in everything that Democrats say. When they say that we're only talking about it because the people above us told us to talk about it, that's 100% how the Democrat Party operates. That's how liberals operate. They only talk about the things that they are given permission to talk about. And I think, Biden's cognitive decline, which is putting it nicely, is one of those situations where it's like we were saying for years, this man is not okay. And then over the course of like 24 hours, they went from saying he's at the top of his game to being, yeah, this man needs to leave office because he's not okay. And it's only because the media flipped the script and told them that it was okay to say that. So it's like, no, we're not talking about, Trump didn't know about it until we started talking about it. And when he says, this is a symbol of, we're trying to use this as a symbol of crime in big cities. Yeah, we are. Like, this is a symbol of crime in big cities.
Exactly. It is. Like, that is exactly what the point is. I'm glad you picked up on it.
Yeah, I know. Maybe that makes me a little crazy, but this isn't about the man being black. It's about somebody who should not be out on the streets being allowed out repeatedly, regardless of his skin color. But this does have a racial motive to it, because obviously with all of these Democrats saying we can't incarcerate Black people because there's too many Black people in the jail system. So because of racism, we have to, let them back out on the street, or we're going to have, disproportionate representation amongst the incarcerated population. So the logic doesn't make sense. It's like, I don't care what your skin color is. If you're out there, you're mentally unstable and you're a danger to the public, you shouldn't be out there. And we shouldn't be letting you out because we've reached our quota of dark-skinned people in the jail system.
That is why the jail is there, to keep these people off the street. It shouldn't matter what color they are. I'm so hoping that we're moving in a different direction away from these toxic narratives, because she's a victim of one of these toxic narratives if they did, in fact, just let him roam the streets because of his skin color.
Right. Well, and speaking of toxic narratives, this, we heard for months and months as Kamala Harris was running her campaign, that as women, it was our job to vote for her because she truly cared about women's rights. But call me crazy, I kind of feel like it's a right of women to feel safe. Like, I shouldn't have to. I mean, to an extent, we all have to look over our shoulder and be aware of our surroundings, no matter where we are. But it kind of feels like, unless I'm doing that, there's a really good chance something bad is going to happen. And I don't have the right to just relax in a community that I should trust to be safe.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's, I should have the right to be safe for the most part. When it comes to empathy, like, who do we have empathy for? Because the Democrats claim that they're the ones with empathy, but do we have empathy for people like Iryna Zarutska or other people that are innocent? Or do we have empathy, the Democrats are placing their empathy on somebody who has a very serious mental illness, and they're willing to let him roam the streets because they don't want to hurt his feelings by putting him behind bars?
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if my liberal logic radar is on point yet. Do you feel like there might be a little bit of a contradiction there?
Yeah, very much so a contradiction. They say, they're worried about women's safety, they're worried about women's rights, but then they don't do anything to protect women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even when it comes to this story, we have this innocent woman who was just murdered, and we can't even get them to talk about it.
None of them are. So instead of talking about this, they're pushing the conspiracy theories about Donald Trump. And I feel like they're trying to avoid the conversation. Not one of them will speak on this issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I feel like that might be harmful to women, to not bring attention to situations that are relevant to women, like not being able to ride the light rail or public transit and worry about being stabbed.
Yeah, because you guys keep letting the guy out on the street. Like,
Right.
what?
Right. But I feel like if I had voted just to be able to kill the unborn up to 9 months and beyond, then I would be perfectly fine right now. Sorry.
Nothing else matters.
Right, exactly. Like, everything else in life would have been totally fine had I just voted on that basis alone. Well, I am glad that we got to talk about this story because, unfortunately, we can't count on the mainstream media to do anything, for our benefit. So I appreciate you coming and chatting with me and shedding some light on this and helping me to know that I'm not crazy in my take on this. And
You're not crazy. No,
okay.
no, you're 150 million% correct. This is all insane.
Right. Oh, either that or we're crazy together. So
that could be true. Yeah,
that could be true. Well, well, you guys, this is CLER Patriot. Be sure to check out her social links in the description box below. Again, be sure to like and subscribe. Leave your thoughts in the comments. What do you think of this story? Are you as pissed off as we are that the mainstream media did not talk about this? And why do you think that they didn't talk about this? I appreciate you being here. Keep it real, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.